All right, everyone. So our last two sections, we've talked about parabolas. We graphed them. We talked about a focus and directrix. We're going to continue on in section 3 with circles. So kind of going on to the world of circles now. And some of this may look familiar from geometry. So the standard equation for a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. In this case, the center is at hk. And those letters should be familiar from earlier this year because we had vertices and things like that were found at HK. So HK are kind of common letters we use. So let's say we have a circle with the center at 0, 0. That would be H and K. And the radius is equal to R. So for a circle, the radius is the same all the way around. So if we go 5 in each direction, that should form a pretty good circle for us. And in this case, we have a radius which is equal to 5. Okay, but the radius really could be any distance. So we just drew in that 5. So you'll notice that circles have x and y are both squared, and then they're equal to some value that is r squared. So down below here, they're asking, is the given equation a circle, a parabola, or neither? So if you look at number 1, since there's only one term squared, just the y squared, the x is not squared. This is kind of in the form of y squared equals 4px that we talked about in our last section. This is a parabola. Number 2 has an x squared and a y squared. It kind of looks like the equation above, just in a little different order. This would be a circle. Because if we rearranged it to x squared plus y squared equals 18, it would look almost exactly like the equation we have up above in the box. Okay, number 3. If I try to make number 3 look like the equation in the top right, I could subtract y squared to move it over here. So we would have x squared minus y squared equals 7. Now the issue here is there's a minus sign, but in our circle equation, there's a plus sign. So these are actually different equations because we do need a plus sign for a circle. In this case, it's a minus sign. So this is actually going to be neither. Because there's 2 squared terms, so it's not a parabola. And then since there's a minus sign there, it will not look like the circle equation. Okay, and then lastly, number 4, there is 1 squared term. If we get rid of the 15y by subtracting it, we would have 7x squared equals negative 15y, and then divide by 7. X squared equals negative 15 over 7y. This is in the formula of x squared equals 4py. So this would be a parabola. Okay, it would be a leftward facing parabola, but it still would be a parabola. So only one of these was neither. And it was neither because there's a minus sign between the 2 squared terms. So circles have plus signs and circles have x squared and y squared. So down below, they ask us to write the standard form of the equation given the radius and the center is at the origin. What this means at the origin is the center is at 0, 0. So h and k will both be 0. H and K are both 0. So using the formula above, if we follow the rule there, it'd be x minus h, so x minus 0 squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So I put in 0 for h, put in 0 for k, and 7 went in for r. So this would be x squared plus y squared equals 49. X squared plus y squared equals 49 would be the equation because the center is at 0, 0, and 7 squared is 49. Okay. And by the way, when the center is at 0, 0, it's always just going to be x squared plus y squared, because when you subtract 0, you just end up with x and y. So number 2 is x squared plus y squared equals, and now we have 3 square root 5, and all of that is squared. So when you simplify this, you would take 3 and square it, and the square root of 5 and square it. So that'll be 9 times 5, which is 45. So that would be x squared plus y squared was 45. Okay, number 3. The radius is 2.5. The center is still at 0, 0. So we know that this is going to be x squared plus y squared. And again, that's because when you subtract 0, like number 1, you just get x and y. So x squared plus y squared, then you type in 2.5 squared on your calculator. We should get 6.25. All right, and the last one, x squared plus y squared equals the square root of 2 squared. Will end up being x squared plus y squared equals 2. So given the center and given the radius, we can plug those variables, the h, the k, and the r, into our formula and figure out an equation. Okay. Next, if we're given an equation, we can graph the equation by finding out where the center is and finding out what the radius is. So in number 1, since there's nothing subtracted from the x or the y, that tells us that h is 0 and k is 0, which means the center is at 0, 0. Okay, now r squared is 16. So we actually have to figure out what r is. So put down r squared equals 16. And to get rid of the squared, you take the square root. So r equals 4. So if we have our center, we're going to graph this circle. All we have to do is count 4 to the right, 4 up, 4 down, and 4 left. So 4 to the right would be that radius. 4 up, 4 down, 4 left, and 4 right. And then just try your best to make the picture look like a circle. So this is where the circle for number 1 would be. Center at 0, 0, radius is 4. Okay, number 2. We first want to make sure this is a circle equation. So we're going to add the y squared, and we do get x squared plus y squared equals 8. So again, the center is at 0, 0. And r squared is equal to 8. So you found the h and the k, which is the center, 0, 0. And now we have to find out what is r by taking the square root. So the square root of 8 is 2.8 roughly. I'm just going to say 2.8 is our radius. So now from the center, we just go a little less than 3. 2.8 is not quite 3. So I'll go 2.8 to the right, 2.8 up, 2.8 to the left, and 2.8 down. And then you're going to sketch a circle. So there we have the circle for number 2. So that circle had the same center, it was just a little bit smaller than in number 1. Okay, so we scroll down. We have 2 more examples left. And the first one we're going to go through is actually kind of tricky. This one tells us that the point 1, 4 is on the circle, and the center of the circle is at the origin at 0, 0. So we're going to write the standard form equation. The issue here is, we know that h is 0. We know that k is 0. We have to find out what r is. So I'm going to put over here, find radius. To find the radius, we have to find the distance from 0, 0 to 1, 4. So to do that, we're going to use the distance formula. So you take your x's, subtract them and square them. And you take your y's and you subtract your y's and you square them. So 1 minus 0 squared and 4 minus 0 squared. So we end up with the square root of 1 plus 16, which is the square root of 17. So we type that in our calculator because we're going to get, well, we can take square root of 17 for r actually for now. We'll get the decimal later. So square root of 17 goes in for r. So we know h, we know k, we know r. So now we have x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals the square root of 17 squared. So this would be x squared plus y squared equals 17. Because when you take square root of 17 squared, you get 17. So distance formula was kind of new for this one, made it a little trickier. The directions did say just to write the standard form equation. They did not say to graph it. So I'm actually not going to even find out what the decimal is for r, because we're able to plug that in our formula and get the equation. That's all we need. So this one was tough because we had to find the radius. They didn't give it to us. And then on to the last one where it says a circle has an area of 200 meters squared. What is the equation of the standard form of the equation of the circle? So we want to write an equation of the circle just like we did the past few. But now we have to use the area formula for a circle. So area of a circle is pi r squared. So that means 200 equals pi r squared. And we're doing this to find out what the radius is So we can plug this in to our equation. So we can divide by pi. So take 200 divided by pi. And we get r squared equals 63.66 is what I have in my calculator. So from there, we take the square root. So r is roughly, I have 7.978. So if we round that, you could say 7.98 or 8, depending on how you round it. Roughly 7.98 or 8 meters. So if we were to write the standard form equation for this circle, I know it does not give us the center, but let's just say center at the origin, because that's what it's been. It's been the origin, which means h and k are both 0. So it'd be x minus 0 squared, y minus 0 squared equals 7.98 squared. So if you square that, it'll be roughly 63.66. That will be the rough equation for that circle. And that is all we have for today.